This episode today is all about buses. By the end of the video, we're going to have 7 new bus lines, 50 something new buses, and a lot of problems that I'm now going to have to solve. Hey everyone, it's M4J here, and welcome back to the M4J network here on openttd. So a couple of little bits of housekeeping before we get started. This video is actually going up in place of a tutorial. There was meant to be a tutorial on how to build and signal stations. That's been held up a little bit, so we've got this video instead. Whether that means there's going to be 2 openttd videos this month or just the one, I don't know yet. But yeah, we're going to be doing this video instead of the tutorial, but the tutorial is still coming, so don't worry about that. Second bit of housekeeping. This video was actually supposed to be finishing off the high speed, but there's been a bit of a delay in getting the timetable done for that. Let me just get my mouse at the right speed. Nope, that's... There we go. I think that's better, maybe. It feels like it's slow again. There we go, that's fast. Yeah, I switch my switches off sometimes on my PC, and when I do that, it resets the mouse, which is really annoying. That's not the housekeeping. The housekeeping is, this episode was supposed to be finishing off the high speed, but the timetables have been delayed, so we're going to be doing something else. But that leads nicely into the third bit of housekeeping, which is to do with how I film my timetables. If I grab a train quickly, let's grab you, you're good. So there's a couple of things. One, the scheduled dispatch. Apparently I don't need to do it for every station here. I get that. Also, these look like they've been reset, even though they've been locked. That's weird. Maybe they haven't been reset. Maybe I'm just being dumb. I can't remember what time. What is... So it's 1980, isn't it? So what's 43... 560 divided by 1980, 22. Oh no, that is right. That is right. I'm just not used to seeing those numbers clearly. Excuse me. Where was I going with this? It was going to be something really profound and something that I'd actually rehearsed in my head a couple of times. Oh yeah. So the scheduled dispatch, I don't need them here. Master Trams has told me to take these out. I'm not going to do that right now, but I will do it off camera because his rationale was trains will leave on the hour, or sorry, on the minute and the half minute, as they do in the real world. So therefore you don't need this, which makes sense. The reason I added these in was as a safety net in case I'd messed up, but apparently I didn't need to do that because if something goes wrong, it means I haven't messed up. It means Master Trams has messed up, and I don't think Master Trams is going to mess up on this, so I'm willing to believe it and take these out. The other thing to do with this is I had a message on Discord about adding in the timetables and things like that, and how I shouldn't be doing it manually on camera. I should just send it off to Master Trams, let him fill it all out for me, and then it will come back complete. There's a temptation there. Excuse me. I've got a sore throat as well, by the way, so if I'm constantly clearing my throat, I do apologise. I can't help it. But yeah, there's a temptation there to follow through on that and just send all the stuff off to Master Trams and say, hey, set these trains running for me, and then he'll send it back and we're done. But where's the fun in that? You know, this is my network, my series. I've been building this up now for, I want to say 5 years, but it might even be 6 at this point. Might even be longer, in fact. And as convenient as it would be to just send it off to someone who works in the industry on timetabling and get them to do it all for me, what can I then say I've done in this series? You know, I've built the track, sure, but if I'm not actually the one who's adding trains to the network, what am I doing? I can't really go, hey, check out my network, and then someone else goes, well, no, because everyone else does it for you. And that's not to say I don't appreciate the help I get, because believe me, I do. The work that Master Trams has done on the timetable so far has been awesome. Also, I know that George is planning his services at the moment using the same philosophy. So if I head back towards Gardcity, because that's where we're actually going to be working today. I still don't feel like my mouse is that particularly speedy at the moment, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, George has claimed the Great Eastern and the Great Western franchises. So this one here out of GSP and this one here out of GSJ. And he's currently creating his timetables using the same method that Master Trams did for the high speed. So when the time comes, he will set up his trains and let them run. But for this, because high speed is my baby, over here at GSG with the... Actually, there's a lot of trains sat here at the moment. I feel like something has gone wrong with this, but I don't know what. You can see there, it says the train's running late or it's delayed. That could well be because I've just updated to the next version of JGR, and it could just be that it hasn't quite kicked in yet what it's supposed to do. But then that's quite late. Yeah, something's not quite right. Yeah, the point I wanted to make was if people are coming on and running their own franchises, then fair enough. I'm not going to intervene unless there's something drastically wrong. So if you want to become a patron, bad time to plug this, I'm sure. But if you want to become a patron, come on here, run your own run your own franchise on the server, then by all means. It's entirely up to you. As long as you don't block anyone else, you will have to get your services approved. That will be by me. But I don't see a problem with people just coming on and saying, I want the... let's use an example down here, like a Gardcity Southwestern franchise. And then you run your trains from GSMA down towards Fort Flonwood and places like that. If that's what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. But I feel like when it's my line and it's my thing, I should probably be the one who actually does it. So it is very easy, as I say, to just send it all off to someone else and get them to do it all for me and then try and claim it as mine afterwards. But I just don't feel like that's the honest thing. And then it's the argument of, if I'm not doing it, how can I claim it's mine in the first place? So it's not like I'm against the idea. And to be honest, if you guys don't care, that might end up being what happens in the future anyway. I'd rather have someone who knows what they're doing do it for me than have me sort of bumbling around getting it all wrong. But, you know, that's the way it is right now. So all valid comments, all valid, you know, criticisms and things like that. But at the same time, right now at least, I want to be the one who's in the driving seat making the mistakes and learning from them. Because I'm not saying I'm going to be sat in a Network Rail booth in the future making timetables or anything. Or was it Great British Railways or whatever the name is these days? I've lost track, to be honest. I don't want to be a timetable planner. I don't want to be sat deciding how late a southern train's going to run this week. But at the same time, in this world, the M4J network, I do want to be the one sitting here deciding what time the high-speed train is going to leave GSG to head up towards Gronwell or down to Plenborough or wherever it might be. So, like I said, it's valid. I appreciate it. I take it on board. But hopefully in the same instance, you can understand why I don't want to hand it all over right now. Unless, of course, someone becomes a patron and takes over the franchise. In which case, you can do what you like with it, as I say. Speaking of, you could do what you like with it. That does kind of segue nicely into what today's video is actually about. So you can kind of call this a filler episode. This is something that I was going to be working on after the high speed. So I'm not... you know, coming up with something on the spot, but this is something that's had to be accelerated because of the shift around in the schedule. Basically, we're working on buses today. We're working on Gardcity buses. I'm just delaying to see what this train does when it arrives at the depot, to see if this delayed disappears. I feel like it's not going to, because it is technically still delayed. We'll see. I've had a couple of issues with JGR recently. But yeah, there you go. That has gone. And that's now saying it's early because it's taken the next slot. So we're all good. I think we're all good. Cool. Buses. So yeah, the segue is Master Trams actually got in touch with me not so long ago asking what's the sitch with buses. Buses are a franchise that are available. To be honest, all franchises are available. You can have rail, either open access or a franchise. Open access is a slightly different thing. All information is on my Patreon, by the way. Patreon, sorry. If you want to go check it out. And when I set up my channel memberships, the tiers will be the same for that too. So, rail is a franchise. Road is a franchise. Trams technically are a franchise, but they come under road. And then you can also have ships, and you can even have air if you so wish. But the question, which I think is a good question, is how does it work with buses? Do you just get given an area, and that's your location? So in this case, Gardcity, and you can just run. Let's get town names. Don't need anything else there, but I do need the plan list so that you can see Greater Gardcity, which is this box. This is a region in terms of road. And can you just run bus lines wherever you like within this region? The answer to that is yes. The next question, which is another very valid and very good question, is what about coaches? So in Gardcity here, we have the Gardcity coach franchise, which is this one here, operates out of Guard Lake Station. Right now, there's ones that go to the airport. There's ones that go to... I was going to say go to different stations, but I think they do actually right now all just go to airports. So there's one to Punfingford Airport, which is to the north, this way. There's one to Great Winfield, which is this way. There's one to... I always forget what this one's called. Rinston. And then there's also one up to Warnbridge, which is way up in the north. And I think there's one to Honningville Station as well, if I recall. Instead of guessing, why don't I just tell you? Gardcity coaches. Oh no, yeah, New Safing Hill Parkway, which is off in that direction. And then there's one to Beffing Way as well, which runs along the Great North Road. Like I said, all valid questions. All valid questions. And at the time, I didn't really have valid answers, to be honest. And that's on me, because I hadn't really thought about it. But yeah, it created an interesting question for me, which is how are buses and coaches going to work? The answer, for anyone who's interested, is you will be allocated a region. So like I said, Gardcity is a region. There's actually a region map somewhere that I created, which I think is on the Discord. If it's not, I will try and remember to post it on the Discord. But on that map, it's actually a map of rail regions, but it will apply for this as well. If you claim a bus franchise and you're assigned a region, or you choose a region, you can operate from one hub town. So that will be your base of operations. So let's say up in the northwest here, if you choose this region, let's say your hub town is Benpool. You can run as many bus lines as you like in Benpool. You can also run bus lines to surrounding towns. So Sontown, Slunton, Dewburg, Marnpool, Dratborough Market, Notlob, which I really want to change the name of actually because it looks wrong. You can even come up here as far as Mewood if you like, if the road network is there, which hopefully in the future it will be. You can do what you like. Mount Pleasant, as long as you can build the stops, because sometimes you will have to build your own stops. I think hub towns, that's kind of a grey area, but we can discuss that in future. Is that narrow gauge? That's not narrow gauge track, is it? Have I lost my tracks? That's interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. I hadn't realised that happened. I'll have to go fix that at some point as well. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so you have a hub town, wherever it might be. It could be a small one like Sunnington. It could be a big one like Sluntfield. Other people will operate in your region as well, but they will have their own hub towns. And the ruling will be your hub town is your domain. Other people can serve your hub town, but it will be capped. So maybe one line can go to your hub town. So they're not just stealing all of your passengers. And they can't operate, regular services in your hub town like you can. So that's kind of the answer to that one. But then Master Trams asked about coaches. How do coaches work? Would they be similar to open access in rail? And that's the one where I'm like, oh, I had to stop and think about it for a minute. Because, yeah, how does that work? And I think the answer is going to be a bit like what we've got here with Gardcity coaches. You can run one service from one hub to another hub, and that's it. So if you go from Gardcity to Warnbridge, that is your allocation for both Gardcity and Warnbridge taken, I would say. Unless one of those is your hub town, in which case you can run more. So say Warnbridge is your hub town, you can have one coach service that comes down to Punfingford. You can have one coach service from Warnbridge down to, say, Larnway, or is that Badinghead? Yep. The possibilities there are quite endless, to be honest. But there are ways in which bus lines are classified, I believe, or coach lines are classified. Master Trams knows about it more than me. I think the limit in the real world is 50 kilometers before it falls under a different jurisdiction. I don't know how to cap that myself, but we do have a measuring tool in the game somewhere. I always forget where it is. Is it under the map? Nope. There is one somewhere where it measures a distance for you. I'm sure it's under this. Wherever it is, there is a way of doing it. And it'll measure... Is it this one? Where you do... No, that's just normal thing there. Whatever it is, there's one around. It gives you a Manhattan distance. And I think we'll measure it through a Manhattan distance and work out a number based off that. It'll probably be 100, maybe 150, possibly 200. We will see. But I hope that's sort of answered the question. But if not, just contact me on Discord. I'll set something up on the Patreon only chat as well for our current patrons to have a discussion about it. And then I'll relay that over to the M4J network chat as well, so that potential patrons are also in the loop. Okay. That's a lot of explanation at the start of the video. We're nearly 20 minutes in and we haven't actually started the subject of today's video, which is the buses. Gardcity buses. Now, way back when I used to play Cities in Motion 2, I used to set up my bus lines as big circles, which is what I've done here too. So if we choose a bus line, that's the wrong one, Mark. Let's go with one of these. These all just, oh, there we go, an actual bus. Here, you can see how the bus line works. It's a big circle. It covers quite a lot of area. Excuse me, I got the coughs now as well. But it's not exactly useful, you know. Say, for example, you're here at Bartholomew Square and you want to head over here to Colonel Pier. You have to go all the way into Gardcity St George and out again, which isn't particularly useful. Now, someone at the time, when I was playing Cities in Motion 2, said that's not how it works. It's straight lines. So you'll have A to Z via B, C, D, E, F, G, and then when it comes back, it does the same journey, but in reverse. Now, I'll admit, I don't go on buses often in my life, but when I have, I wasn't familiar with how they worked. The one I've been on before was in Cambridge, and it did form a circle around the city centre. So I just assumed that's how it always worked, but it's not. Turns out the commenter was right, and it is A, B, C, D, E, and then E, D, C, B, A. That's how it works. And the reason I found out about this is because I watched Jeff Marshall's excellent documentary of all the buses, or every bus in London. I can't remember what it's called now, but that taught me how the bus lines in London worked. And I looked at that and thought, I was wrong, and the other guy was right. So we're going to redo all of the bus lines in Gardcity. Not all of them today, but we're going to start redoing them all. And actually, that makes my life a lot easier, believe it or not. Redoing things is becoming a habit of mine, as I'm sure you've noticed. And it's getting to the point where I'm like, I need to start getting things right first time. But I like having a do-over because it does help me find out how these things actually work and fixing them. So the reason I like this is because I can now go GSG as the first stop, and I can have a line that comes all the way out to, where's it gone? Slenston here, and it can stop at a certain set of stops along the way, and then when it gets to the end here, it'll go back in the exact same direction. And because of that, I can then have a second line that starts at GSG, maybe heads out to, oh, I don't know, Slenston again, but this time goes via a slightly different route. Now again, that's not exactly how it works in London, but I think for Gardcity that is a better way of doing it than what I have been doing in the past. Now I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I'm not going to have two lines that start at A and end at D and just take different routes to get there. But I think having these different routes that can branch off and rejoin again and connect up will be a good way to help get people moving around the city a little bit faster. kind of like what we've done with our trams here in Gardcity as well. So today's all about the buses. I'm going to be jumping into some time lapses throughout the video, and we're going to be setting up different bus lines. First of all though, we need to send all of the Gardcity buses here to their respective depots, because in a minute they are all going to be changing. So the first thing I need to do here is find GSG. There it is, route 001. And yeah, we have 5 vehicles here which currently operate this circle around Brindhatton, Queen's Park, Bathgate, Menpool and St George. That's going to change. That is definitely going to change. And that's the other problem I have now, is how do I assign these bus lines? One idea I did have was clock face route planning. So 001, which I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. Each hub of Gardcity has been assigned a number. So Gardcity St George is actually number 0. St John is 2. St Mark is 4. I think St Bart's up here is 1. And then St John's is 2. St Thomas is 3. St Mark is 4. And then I think St Peter is 5. St Michael is 6. St Christopher is 7. Or St Elizabeth is 7. I have a list. It's fine. I can go find it. And then it does a second circle where the smaller stations but are still hubs, so like Bankside and Slenston also are given numbers. So Slenston is number 12. And that's how the routes are allocated. So GSG is 12 on the clock face, and therefore it's 0 for its initial number. But also each individual route, so in this case 001, will have its own clock face set up as well. So that would make 001 head out this way. But all these local authorities hate me, and because of that I can't actually build any bus stops, because what I wanted to do was GSG to Leyhill as the first bus line, and that would be 001. So what I'm going to do now is just hop into a quick time lapse. This might not last very long, but I'm going to hop into a quick time lapse and see if I can set up some bus stops that this route will actually take. So bear with me, let's see if this works. Okay, so I think that is the first one done, possibly. It's a little bit rough and ready, but I think it'll work. Let's find out. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure all these are collapsed again. We're going to select Gardcity buses, GSG, route 001. I think they're all heading back to the depot now. It's just this one we still need to wait on. There's something else that I was told not to do when I'm mapping out services, but I'm going to kind of ignore that advice for the time being as well. You'll see what it is in a second, purely because it's a force of habit, and in all honesty, I don't see why it would need to change drastically anyway, so I think we're okay. I love the way that it's not actually heading anywhere near the depot that I thought it would be, so that's kind of interesting. Okie dokie. So let's grab you, we'll pin you like so. We might as well get the scheduled dispatch up as well. That will become important. That will become important in just a second. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come all the way down like this. We're going to find the first GSG there. We're going to find the last one, which is coming up there. And we're going to map out a route. Now, do we go via Terminal Row, Royal Blue Lane, things like that? Or do we come up via things like Birchwood, Maroon Court, Amber Fair? That's the thing. So if I get the... oh God, where is that gone? that's one of these as well, isn't it? Yeah, no, not the cargo flow sign. No, where's what I'm looking for? I'm sure there used to be something. Is it under this? Ah, zoning. That's what I'm looking for. Station catchment. So everything here has a station catchment. So to be honest, I don't actually need these extra ones that I built here. I can get rid of those. There and there. If I follow this along this way, you can see that actually all of this has a coverage as well, apart from in the river. But there's no buildings in the river, so that's no biggie. What I want to do is, like here for example, we're terminating at Ley Hill bus station, which is connected to Ley Hill station. That's why it's not called Ley Hill bus station. So that's fairly easy. And then we'll run it down this way via Lower Street, via Ley Hill Fishing Harbour. Now again, I know the temptation is to try and not follow the same route as other forms of transport, but for this, it's fine. The HLR isn't operational right now anyway, so it works. I was actually looking to see if there were any other piers, excuse me, that we haven't connected to, but I don't think there are. So that's fine. The other issue, which actually I could fix with a bridge here, is connecting to Queen's Park North, because that is one thing I would like to do here. So let's do that, and then we'll do that. There we are. We'll turn this off. And yeah, so what I think I'm going to do, start at GSG, and then we're going to head out this way and then turn north. I think that's a good way of doing it. So we'll ignore Fountain Road because that is on the tram. We could do Sunshine Avenue, but I think Terminal Row is actually a good one to go to here, which is there. Now this is what I was told not to do. I was told not to do the double and then click on the bottom one. But for rail, I can kind of understand why that's a thing. But for road, I think it's fine to just do this. So we're just going to do this. Master trams, I apologise. I'm sure you're tearing your hair out right now. So once we get to this point here, we're going to head towards maybe Corporal Drive. I'm trying to avoid Bartholomew Square. That's going to be served by a different line. So if we go this way, then we can do Geddes Street. Then here we can start turning north. So we'll go via Private Avenue. We're not going to go to Queen's Park HLR. We're going to go to Queen's Park North. So the next stop is probably... So yeah, we don't have an east to west stop here. I feel like this is where we need one. So let's go... Where do we get to? It was Private Avenue, wasn't it? So I'm going to build one. Oh, Queen's Park, you absolute... And you watch. It's going to say the local authority, or the private investigator, or wherever it is, has discovered that you're actually doing something highly illegal. Which, let's be honest, it is. There we go. Upper Queen's Park. That's fine as a name. It'll change in the future. It doesn't matter right now. So... From Private Avenue, we're going to go to Upper Queen's Park. We're then going to go to probably Piccadilly Lane. And then the next stop is going to be Queen's Park North. Then from here, we're going to go to Waterways. Then Lyndon Hatton Transfer. Rivers. Then Lyndon Hatton Old Town Hall, Lyndon Hatton Fish Market. If anyone's wondering as well, I haven't actually decided yet what I'm going to do with things like, am I going to have a Superloop? Am I going to have express buses and all that good stuff? It's very much a work in progress, this idea right now. But I saw the documentary, I realised I'd got the buses wrong, and I wanted to start fixing it. So this could end up being quite an extensive project, to be honest. But right now, it's going to look like this. This is 001, which is the new Gardcity St George to Ley Hill line. Now if I come over here to the timetable, you'll see that it's 9,900 here, 29,700 there, which I think is all fine. That's 9,900, and then we got this thing here, which I'm going to cover in just a second. So let's fix this first. We're going to set all of these to 1980. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to set all these to 990, like that. Now, it was 29,700, wasn't it? And you were that. And I'm going to come down here. You were... Is it 4950 is the number I'm looking for? Let's just get the calculator. 9900 divided by 2. 4950, indeed. So we don't need to wait for the full 5 minutes. Although, actually, we might as well. It doesn't hurt. That, I think, we'll just leave as is for now. This one here is just going to be 1980. And then the other one I want to change is Queen's Park North, which is 16 and 42. So you are going to be 1980 times 2, which is... Could do it in my head, but I can't be bothered. 3960. There, and then 42. 3960. There we go. We're going to lock all these. I'm going to hit autofill. And I think this is ready to go. So yeah, what's this at the bottom here with the conditional order? First of all, I need to actually take out the conditional order for this bit here. This is to do with what I was talking about last episode where I gave Master Trams a heart attack. And it's to do with vehicles not necessarily heading back to the depot after they complete their first order, which I like as a thing. I think that's really, really clever. And it's taken a long time to get to this stage where people have been able to do it reliably. I believe Kale was the one who discovered how to do it. And it involves using conditional orders. But I think that conditional order in particular didn't exist until recently, which is why it's taken so long to be discovered. Essentially, when it gets back to the last order here, it will complete this order, and then it will hit the conditional order, where it says if the next departure slot from the first stop, which is right up here, is not the next day. Is that right? Hang on, I'm just working out in my head. So the default is it will flick back up to the top unless that departure isn't the first of the day. Oh, is the first of the day, sorry. In which case, it will head back to the depot. Oh, God, I've explained that so badly. Another way of looking at it is if it sees that, let's say the first departure from GSG here in the morning is at like 1 o'clock in the morning. If it comes back to GSG down here and the next departure is 10 o'clock at night, it will scoot back up to the top and run that order. If it's midnight when it gets back and it realizes that the next one isn't until 1, it will head back to the depot and wait for its new dispatch time. That's what that is. So I need to get this to work, remove these. This is new. And I need to head to this one and remove all these too. I think this is all to do with what I was just saying. If I turn that off again, there was one that it was pointing at just now. Yeah, these two. Now, I don't know what that means, which is interesting. I can also manage individual slots now. Huh. Okay. Feel like I've got some new stuff to learn again then. But yeah, I'm going to remove all of these and let the service autofill so that we can get an idea as to what we're doing with, let's be honest, all of this. And again, I apologize if I've explained this really badly. I had it all planned out in my head what I was going to do, and then I got a little bit thrown when I realized GSG was going to be the first one and I hadn't actually planned out what I was doing with the first line. So I think as a line, this one works. Maybe it would have been smarter to have come up via Brindhatton West and Junction and things like that. And I'm not saying that all the ones are going to head northeast and all the, I don't know, 5s or 7s or whatever are going to head southwest. But I just think for my sake, clock face planning will work better for me. So there will be a line that comes out of GSG, runs up via GSB, possibly out to somewhere like Wunfingberg Springs or Nunford or whatever. That might be 5 or 6 in terms of this plan. But Route 2 here could be the one that comes up through Royal Blue Lane, Amber Fair, Parkside Court, and then it could loop back south and run through Bartholomew Square. They're also not necessarily all going to go from hub to hub. So it's not necessarily going to be, you know, GSG to GSJ as a single line. There might be one that comes out of GSG and stops at GSJ, but then runs elsewhere, you know, maybe out to Puningbury or something like that. And it just so happens that there's 2 hubs on the same line. I don't know right now. I'm kind of making it up as I go along. But I wanted to get this bit in first of me doing the explainer and at least getting one line up and running to show you guys what it's going to look like, just so that I'm vaguely aware as to what's happening. And then eventually, where's the... Oh, it's all the way down there. Eventually, I'll start adding more of these off camera just to make my life a little bit easier. Right, that's on autofill. I'm following this. I'm going to quickly time-lapse me filling this in, and then I'm going to show you what's going to happen with this one here. So let's go. Alright, orders filled. We should now have a full listing here. Obviously it stops there because of the next scheduled dispatch, and then if I come all the way down here, all of these were auto-filled anyway, so we're ready to go. So, next thing to do then is to set up the schedule. So I want my buses to run every 10 minutes during the off-peak times. I think that's right. 12 minutes is possible as well. So that's 5 buses an hour. 10 is 6 buses an hour. To be honest, every 12 minutes is kind of tempting, because I think that's what they do in London, but I'm not 100% sure. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I think 12 is a good idea. 5 buses an hour is pretty good. And then during the peak hours, we can always run an extra service that fills the gaps. There'll be a bus every, say, 6 minutes, or a bus even every 4 minutes. We'll see. So, control click. We're going to have the first bus leave GSG. Make sure you're on schedule 2 to do this at 5, let's say 41. We want it to run every 12 minutes, and we're going to do this until 10:41, and add slot. So we need 6 buses, which, considering how many slots there are here, that's not too bad. That could have been a lot worse. So we need 6 buses. We'll get the 6th one in just a second. And then just to complete this, if I then go to this again, and down here, click this, conditional order jump up here to GSG. And then for this, you say if, I've got to remember how to do this now. If dispatch slot on 2, last departure slot, oh wait, sorry, next departure slot is not first slot, I think is the one. Hang on one second, I need to double check this. Again, I feel like I've got it wrong already, which is not great. I can't find the chat. I think this is correct. In fact, I can just check it compared to one of the other ones. What am I doing? Where's this one? There we go. So grab you. Sorry, orders. So yeah, jump to order 3 when scheduled to. Next departure slots. Oh god, next departure slot is not first slot. So jump to order 7 when scheduled to. Next departure slot is not first slot. So yes, I have got it right. So now, when it gets back to GSG, have I put it in the wrong spot? Yes, I have. You actually need to go under. There we go. So it always stops here first, then it loops. So here it will always jump back to the top if there's another slot in the day. So there's 6 buses. We've established that already. This has now disappeared, but we know there were 6. So now we head back over here. And this is the tricky bit. So you have to look here and see how many slots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's between 541 and 641. But we need the buses to already be at GSG for that time. So we can look, thanks to our trusty timetable here. Let's add this up. So I'll get the calculator out. So it's from leaving the depot, so we don't need to do the 29,700, and it's just the travel time. So it's 1184 plus 1480 plus 1702 plus 222 plus 740 plus 370, and that takes us to GSG. That creates 5,000. That makes 5,698. Divide that by 1980. That makes 2.87777777, and you know how that goes. So 5 minutes is a good number here. So if we go back to this, we look at the first one here. It's at 5:41. So if we leave here at 5:36, there you go. And then the next one will be 12 minutes later, so that'll be 5:48. And then 600, 612, 624, and 636. If I compare that to this, they should all be 5 minutes before. And we know that we need 6 vehicles on this line. So if I head back over here to this, clone, hold control, click. Oh, that's the wrong one. Where's that bus gone? Is it this one? Nope. What bus have I just bought? 92. So 92, we'll get rid of you. Sorry, 201 or whatever you are. For a second there, you thought you were going to be something, but you're not. Clone you. There we go. So actually 92 is now technically the class leader for this route. Also the numbers. That's one other thing I'm going to change. I'm probably going to do that next episode now when we complete the high speed stuff. But trains especially, I'm going to actually give them tops numbers. But for now, it's a bit of a faff. Right. So this is now ready to go. This line. Now, there is one other thing. So it says, not all conditional order branch taken travel times are timetabled. I don't know how to fix this other than just auto-filling it again. The problem, I think, is this section here where it makes this jump. Because since this was all auto-filled, this has now been added. But I don't know where it is that that's now changed. So I could just leave it. You know, it's not the end of the world. And I don't think at this stage the vehicles down here will ever appear. The vehicle number. I don't think that ever appears now if you have the conditional order. So, I don't know on that one, to be perfectly honest. But I do know that this line at least can start up again. So all these vehicles are going to come trundling out. They're all going to head off to their various places. See, most of them are actually heading to GSG. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when these reach. In fact, it looks like they've already had their slots assigned. So That one is 2105. If this one also says 2105, then we're in a little bit of trouble. It does say 2105, but if I speed up time, let it go to GSG by itself, we'll see what it says when it actually gets there. Because I think once it arrives here, the slots are reassigned. So yeah, there you go. 2229, 2217. Cool. So they're all being assigned their slots. And yeah, I don't know what these arrows mean. These are new in one of the latest updates. And it could also be, to be honest, that I don't actually need to do this anymore. There might actually be another way of doing it. Let's just see. Just for the fun of it, what happens if I do this and then click this? I don't think there is another way of doing it right now, though. There's like values and stuff and all that kind of thing. But I think genuinely this is the way of doing it still. So, whoops. No, I don't want to modify the order. Probably messed something up there. So yeah, the all conditional order branch taken travel times a timetable. That's fine because I think what it actually does is change the time from when it runs from GSG to GSG, which is going to be minimal anyway. Now, the one downside to doing this is the bus will drive into one of these berths, it will stop, it will unload, it will sit here for 5 minutes, and then it has to go somewhere else within GSG to load up again. What I would like, and I think trains do this, but other vehicles don't, although planes might do it too, actually, in hindsight, thinking about it, is if they just stayed where they were. And that counts as the filling up again, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to put a cut in here, and we're going to come back in a bit, and we're going to have a few more lines set up. I'm going to do most of them off camera, to be honest, for the GSG ones at least. But then we can start looking at some of the other stations and other hubs around Gardcity and get some more bus lines set up. And by the end of this, hopefully we'll have loads of awesome new bus lines set up, as well as rerouting the existing ones. So here we are, several lines and several days later, we have finally got Gardcity St George mostly populated now with bus lines. There's still a couple to go, at least, that I'd like to get in, plus some fixes that I need to do, which I'll explain in a minute. You'll also notice GSG looks a little bit different now. As I was populating with buses, populating each schedule and things like that, I noticed that the station here was badly optimized for what I wanted in terms of the number of vehicles. So the trams have now been moved into the middle, which I think is where they used to be. The logic behind this being, if you're coming out of the station, you're likely to come out of this exit here, and then if you're going on for onwards travel through the city, you'd cross over the top of the metro here, possibly hop down to the Gardcity Underground, but if you don't, then the trams are the next thing in front of you, and then the buses straddle the tram stop. That kind of makes more sense to me. Probably makes more sense to others as well. I did have to keep a road here because the St George name, I can't remember exactly how it works, and I might have already messed this up, but the road tile underneath the town name is the one that the town grows from. So if you remove that road tile, then the town will keep shrinking until eventually it disappears entirely. So I think that's enough to keep it going. Although it's only got a population of 79, and it's only really there so that we can see that this is the St George area of the city. So it probably doesn't matter anyway. So what lines have we got then? Well, first of all, ignore the tram up here. This was just something else I'd noticed as I was going along, was the fact that this tram was crap, to be honest. I did this with the bus as well in some places, but I think it was existing bus lines where I forgot to lock the stop times, and there was one down here somewhere where there was 2 stops that hadn't been locked, and they was the tram was stopping for like 59,000 ticks, which, just to do the quick maths now, it was 59,000 and something, but I'm just going to do 59,000 divided by 1980. So that was 29 minutes. Basically half an hour that it was stopping for, which is not ideal. So I went and changed those, and I also realised that at night, and I'll have another go at explaining this in a second because I know I butchered that earlier too. At night the trams were staying at GSG, they weren't going back to the depot. So I'm just redoing this to see if that makes any difference. Also, my mouse is doing that thing again. There we go. We had a power cut, and when I restarted my PC, the mouse was going really slow, and I forgot to change it. Look at that. Look at that cursor speed. So yeah, we got 8 new lines coming out of GSG. So route 001, which is the one we did on camera. If I zoom out here, you can see that it goes from GSG up to Leyhill. This, I think, is actually going to be a temporary terminus, and it may extend out further in the future. I'd like it to go up to Sondinghead Cross, actually, if possible, because I think that would be a good one. The reason that it's not going onwards to the northwest is because of Route... Nope, not Route 2, but Route 2 is a good one too. So Route 2 starts at GSG, it runs through Bartholomew Square, it then runs out to Gardcity St Bartholomew, which is not going to be confusing at all for the poor people that have to catch this bus every day. And it terminates up here at Grainingbury Bus Station. And it connects up. It's actually a useful connection here because it connects Grainingbury Central with Grainingbury Station, which this is on the Cross City line and this is on the Overground. So it's a good way for people to change train without having to come into the city and out again, particularly as this line goes to Renston and this line goes to GSB. So you'd have to do some weird metro interchange as well, because Renston's not the easiest one to get to from here. That's all the way over here. So you'd have to then catch a train back into the city to then come across from, because I think from GSJ you can get to GSB via this line here, in fact. So that's somewhat convenient, but only if you're travelling in one direction and not the other. So that's that one. Then we've got Route 4, which is the one that I was looking for. So this one, again, starts at GSG, goes via several stops here, crosses over the river, goes to Queen's Park, where it interchanges with the Overground again, and also the ships. And then it runs along this side of the river, interchanges at Rinfingford as well. And then it does stop at Leyhill. So that would be a good place to interchange with Route 1. But then from Leyhill, it continues to the northwest, runs through Runfingwell, where it connects with the Northern City line, I was going to say, but that's not what it's called. Capital line, that's what it's called. I've been to London recently and I get confused because I get the names mixed up between the real line and the one that inspired it, you know. And then, yeah, it also connects with Drape Road, and then finally Plintbridge Parkway. So this is the first bus line to actually run into Plintbridge. Plintbridge hates me right now, so it'd be good if I could get some more bus lines operating around here, because then that will at least make them tolerate me, if not like me. Route 5 is the next one. There's no logic to these numbers, by the way. I know I said before about doing clock facing, but it didn't really work out in the end. I just put random numbers, kind of like what London do, although London do have a method. I just don't know what the method is, or at least I hope they have a method, otherwise, gee whiz, that's random. But yeah, again, starts at GSG, runs down through Guard Lake. It does interchange with Guard Lake, although I'm tempted to sever that interchange, because it does make life a little bit tricky. In fact, you can see there's a bus waiting to get in because of the coaches. Although, is it too late to turn you around? Yes, it is. That's somewhat annoying, because I imagine you're running considerably late right now. Yeah, you were supposed to arrive at 8:34. It's now 8:56. So that needs changing. How would I go about that? There's a question. I don't know. We'll come back to that because there's some optimization stuff that I need to work on with this anyway. So that would be a key part of that. And then, yeah, from Guard Lake, it then continues south to GSMA. And then from here, it does this weird roundabout system. So it stops at St Mark East, which is a new stop that I placed for this episode. And then it heads over the railway here, alongside the railway through this tunnel. And then it connects up with this little suburb here. Doesn't go to Stillington Overground, although it nearly did. But that's something for another time, I think. But then it does connect up with Praffing Way, and it continues out west, and it terminates here at Flunfingfield Transfer, which is actually a pretty major interchange down here in the southwest of the city. It's where the underground meets the HLR, and then obviously buses here as well. This was actually a candidate for a tram line at one point, and might still be. So at the end of the road here, it would possibly continue further south this way, and then turn west. And I'm looking, I think actually if it goes through Java Lane and then turns west, it crosses under the railway. And then we might have to move some stops around, but if Apollo Row moved out the way, then the tram line can continue this way. And then Clarity Canal, what was I thinking when I named that one? Deary me. And then, yeah, it can almost do a straight shot into Flunfingfield, which would be kind of cool. Next, Route 6, which I think this one was placed on camera as well, actually. if I recall. This is the one that runs out to, yes, Cement Cross. Which, again, I think this one might get extended. It could end up going all the way down to Renston, to be honest, via Daningpool Bridge. One of the problems I've got right now is I don't have bus stops where I thought I had bus stops. So I thought all of this area was populated, and it isn't. And the really disappointing one, I wanted a line that ran out to Shoreham Junction, which was actually the one that ended up going to Flunfingfield. So what's that? 005. And the reason I had to go west and not south is because I have no bus stops around this area. So I have to come back and place those at some point. Which will probably be off camera. As I said, Gardcity St George is not finished right now. It's still a work in progress. But I've been doing this literally for 5 days now, trying to get these lines in and around my actual job. I've been running up to my desk and checking to see if schedules have auto-filled and things like that. So this is time consuming. This is very time consuming. This is why I appreciate Mastertrams' work with the high speed line for me, because all I had to do was put in the times. I didn't have to autofill anything, which was very useful indeed. But yeah, Route 6 runs out to Cement Cross. Once I place the bus stops through New Groodingbury, Daningpool Bridge, Goowood and Renston, then it will head out to Renston Interchange, I think. But right now, it just does the short skip over to Cement Cross. Route 7. This one I feel like is quite a long one as well. Possibly. Ah, yes. This is quite a long one. This one goes all the way out to Rutway East, which is up here. And again, I would like to extend it to Little Sindhead, but at the time, no bus stops here. I think it would have to be in this side of the station, which means we'd have to build some bridges across the railway or a tunnel underneath or something like that. But right now, it just terminates at Rutway East. And this kind of connects up the west side, northwest side of the city. And again, it's a little bit here, there, and everywhere. So we got Jacques Grove here, where it connects with the overground. Gondingbury Main Line, where it connects with the overground and the West Winds line. Rutway technically is the overground as well. I was going to say the underground, but it's not. That's Rutway West. So actually, that could be where it comes down next, and then passes underneath, and then runs through Little Sindhead. I don't know. We'll sort that out some other time. It also connects up Leadhatton Springs. This is also the one that goes out to Gardcity St Elizabeth as well. And I was going to say Gronley Central, but no, that's a different line. We'll come to that in a second. And Gloucester Main Line, which is also a different line, which we'll come to in a second. But yeah, I think this is kind of a valuable one. And again, this could end up being a candidate for a tram line one day. Or at least have a tram that runs through here. Because GSE feels a little bit isolated. I always think GSB's the isolated one. But it's actually really close to GSG when you look at it. When you look at Gardcity St Elizabeth, the distance is kind of similar, but it's so far away in terms of, how to actually get there. Because the roads are built around the railway here, so it kind of, like even here, you can see the little loops and stuff that you have to take to get to the right spot. It can be a bit of a pain. So yeah, we'll have a look at the buses. We might make some changes, but GSE is going to be a bus hub anyway, so Menwell and places like that, St Elizabeth, of course, Lonburton, even places like Ninford, Shawston. These are all going to be served by the St Elizabeth hub. Menwell's massive now. I remember when I built these stations here, God knows how many years ago now, and I was thinking, this doesn't need to be big. That's why there's just single platforms north and south. But yeah, this is going to be quite difficult to run. I think Mastertrams is taking the West Winds franchise, so I do not envy you having to sort that one out. Then we've got Route 8, which... Right, this is the Slenston line. Did I do this one on camera as well? I might have done. So yeah, starts at GSG, runs via GSC, and then comes down through Genford and into Slenston, where it terminates. There isn't actually one over here right now. Where is the next bus? 9:05. Ah, it's 2 minutes away. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Like clockwork. Excellent stuff. And then the final one for now is Route 10. And this is kind of the long one. So it starts at GSG, goes via Halliday Circus, runs up this way, crosses over the railway via this bridge, runs through Gronley, including connecting at Gronley Central, which again, this is an understated interchange, this one, because it's a good place to go to catch the tram or a bus without having to go into GSG and out again. So that should mean that from here through the central corridor, will only be used by passengers wanting to actually head south out of the city, and not for passengers that just want to change it at GSG to get onto a tram or a bus. Hopefully that's the plan. From here, crosses back over, runs through Gloucester, including connecting at Gloucester Main Line, which again, slightly understated interchange here, up there with Gronley Central in fact. It's just designed to get people off the train early, so that only those who want to head through the city will actually get on the train here to head through the city. That's the theory. Whether or not it works, the fact that there's an overground interchange here as well could play nicely into our hands, but we'll see. Then it carries on north. It runs through what I call the little Disney area here. You might have noticed some of the names: Pluto, Mortimer, Mickey, Minnie, Huey, Daisy, Donald. I think there's a Dewey and a Louie somewhere as well, but I can't remember where. And then it was going to connect with Nenfingbourne, decided not to. That might change, because again, that's quite a good interchange. Either there or Gloucester Gardens. I think it might actually be at Nenfingbourne, because again, the tram's here too. Yeah, I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? I think Blunt Boulevard will get taken out, and I'll just have an interchange here with the railway. Here continues. Sorry, northeast. Can't get my words out. Connects at Headinghall, which this is the weird overground one that actually bypasses basically everything. I think this is used by or it will be used by the route from GSMA out to I forgot the name of the station, Flaham and beyond. So that's kind of a misnomer. It's only going to be like one train an hour or something. So it's not a massive interchange, but still it can be quite important. And you never know, there might be passenger services that run from this line round to this line and up through Plint Bridge, because I think, yeah, I do have a connecting line that enables that, as well as the one that passes underneath all this and heads over to Runfingwell. So there's a possibility as well. We'll see. Is it Runfingwell South? I might actually have to skip Runfingwell South. Although it can go into Runfingwell itself and run to not GSB, sorry, Bartholomew Square. Man, I'm getting confused with that name now. I promised myself I wouldn't as well, so that's annoying. Yeah, continues north, and then this one actually goes to Plint Bridge Common, which is quite a major station on the underground, and is also its own little hub, as you can tell by the depot up here. So that's kind of cool too. So yeah, issues. This is demonstrating it nicely for me. There are a lot of vehicles that are just sat here not doing anything. If I open this, you'll see the number of arriveds. And if I look at this one, for example, this Garthill bus, which is route 11. Actually, that's a tram, sorry. Route 11. It arrives at 8:27. It departs at 9:12. So it sits here for 35 minutes. 45 minutes. Wow, my maths is terrible. Sits here for 45 minutes before it heads off. That's not ideal. Some other examples. This one here, the Cement Cross one that's just left, in fact, that tram sits there for half an hour. The GSP one, I think that one's fine. It's the new ones that bug me the most. So this one sits there for 34 minutes, goes out to Grainingbridge bus station. And the Slenston one sits there for 30 minutes. Now, on the schedule, if I open one of them up, you'll see they're only supposed to sit here for 5 minutes. Here, 9,900 ticks, which is 5 minutes. So what I need to do is I need to go through and I need to look at all the arrival departure times for these lines, and I need to try and time it so that the bus arrives no later or no higher than 7 minutes before its scheduled departure time. So we don't have buses sitting here clogging things up for 25, 30 minutes. And that's really, really crucial with the trams, because we only have 6 actual stops. Each one can hold 2 vehicles in each direction. So that's 4. So that's 24 trams we can store in here. And right now, out of here, we have 30 trams, and I think they all pretty much sit here during the day, which is not ideal at all. So I need to go and fix that, and I've got some ideas for how to do that, one of which is probably not the best way to do it, but again, as an example, the one that was bugging me the most was out here at Grainingbridge bus station. instead of it sitting here for 5 minutes, it could sit here for say 15 minutes, and that will eat into some of the schedule there as well. Or just use some of the stops along the way. So here, instead of it stopping for 30 seconds at these two, maybe stop for a minute, and that will chip away a little bit at the stop times and try and make up for it. Because I don't think there's any other way of doing it. It's not like in real life where if you arrive a little bit early, it might go sit in a lay-by somewhere. You can't really do that, I don't think, on here. I don't think there's a conditional order for if you're excruciatingly early, go sit in a lay-by somewhere. So yeah, this is clogged up, but it's easily fixable. We just need to move the buses, like the wait times, elsewhere. Now, what other bad ones are there? So this one here is over half an hour, the Leyhill one, so that's route 1. So again, that's 25 minutes more than it should be here for. And then that could be used by something else. And the really telling one, this poor bus is still sat here waiting, by the way. If I look at this one, that's the delayed one. Yeah, that's the delayed one. And I can't turn it around now, which is excruciatingly annoying as well. So you've got this one here, which is sat for over half an hour, over 40 minutes in fact, that one's sat for. And it's these two here that I need moving, and they're not right now. So that's something that needs to be looked into. I need to look at the actual wait time for some of these. I think that's the return bus that's now coming in. And is it going to say? Yeah, GSG. Just arrived now. Oh no, that's a mail truck. So this is another one somewhere. Unless that's a different bus. That's probably a different bus now I've said that. So as I said, there's limitations. I'm learning as I go along here. I think I've got solutions for most of this. The coaches is always going to be a problem. There could be a way to force it with waypoints and maybe have just a bus stop out on the street here for this one, and then force the coaches in and into this area. That's one way of doing it. There may be other ways of doing it. We'll see. But I think for the most part, it's just about wait times and cutting those down or moving them elsewhere to quieter parts of the network. A smart person would autofill it, work out how long the journey takes, and then plan it accordingly that way, which is basically what Mastertrams did for me with high speed. But it's not what I did because I'm not a smart person, it turns out. So yeah, that's one issue. The other thing I was going to quickly talk about was earlier on in the episode, which for me was last Sunday. I think I recorded it. This is now the next Sunday. I talked about how one of the problems with using the... I might as well explain it again first. Oops. Explain it again first. Also, these buses are very profitable. I think I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to talk about was this again. So this conditional order jump. Basically, the best way to explain it is not how I did it earlier. It's just to say that when it reaches the end of its journey here, it looks to see if the next... So in this case, order 7, which is up here at GSG, it looks to see if that next departure slot is claimed or not. First and foremost, if it is claimed, it will move it to the next one, which explains some of the long waiting times here. And then it looks to see if that is the first slot of the day. So if I open your scheduled dispatch here, go to number 2, you see we've got several departure slots here. The first one of the day is 5:39, the last one is 10:39. So when it reaches the end of its journey, so arrives back at GSG, let's just expand this again. It looks to see what the next departure slot available is, and then it looks to see whether or not that is the first one. So if it arrives back to GSG and the 10:39 has already departed, the next slot will be the first slot of the day, basically. And at that point, it says, okay, we're not going to jump back up to order 7. We're going to head back to the depot. And it is really, really satisfying at the end of the day to watch this slowly empty. And then over here, this slowly fills up. And you can see I've expanded this to create more room for vehicles because that was another problem that we were having. I think, to be honest, I'm just going to keep extending it this way to fill up all the available slots, which means this waypoint here is probably going to move over to here. Because I think that would be better. And also I turned this into a dive under as well because I didn't like the idea of cross traffic on a what is essentially 60-mile-an-hour road, because that sounded suicidal to me. So yeah, that's one of the limitations. Sorry, that was the solution to the problem, but one of the limitations of that was space. And there was something else I was going to talk about, and I've just completely forgotten what it was, which is not good. But yeah, space in depots, trying to time things a little bit better so that there's not always an issue. There's also the fact that I want peak hour services as well. So this will fill up during the day with the peak hour vehicles, and then at night those peak hour vehicles are going to have to go somewhere as well, unless I use the peak hour vehicles to run a night bus service as well. That's a possibility. And actually, if I open this, you'll see why we need peak hour services, because right now we have 72,000 passengers. 21,000 I can essentially write off because they don't have any final destination. They'll just go anywhere. But we have 51,000 passengers that want to head one stop down here to St. George Viaduct and then onwards. 4,000 of those actually want to go to St. George's Viaduct. So that kind of sorts that out. The tram can possibly hoover up the majority of that. But look at all the different destinations that we've got here. Most, if not all of these, are within the confines of this sort of area here. So that tells me we need more buses, or we need higher capacity buses, or we need a higher frequency of buses. So that's where the peak hour services will come in. It's essentially the same route, but it will run every 6 minutes instead of every 12, which means you double the capacity, or it might run every 4 minutes instead of every 12, in which case you triple the capacity. But then you have the problem of what do they do when they get back here? So that's something we're going to have to look at, or I'm going to have to look at. I think my priority right now is looking at Guard Lake and cutting down the wait time there, just so that this poor bus here that's still sat waiting, let's just try and free that up. So you're leaving in 12 minutes, which is really annoying. You're a different route, so I can probably send you off as well. And actually you were leaving in 9 minutes, so that would have worked too, but never mind. So have I ticked off everything I was going to talk about? There was the... Yeah, I think so. The conditional orders. I can't remember what it was I was going to talk about. And I literally had that in my head for ages. And then I decided to talk about what conditional orders were again first. And then I completely forgot what it was I was going to say. But yeah, that's me. That's what I do. So yeah, I've already looked at higher capacity vehicles. And for buses, there just aren't any. There's potentially one. But that's it. For trams, I imagine there are some. Let's just close that for a second. Close that for a second. Trams. Let's just grab this one. We'll say replace. Cargo capacity. So we need to keep it within the confines of the era that we're working in. So yeah, 208 as opposed to 110. But the problem with this, the Metro Link, is it's a length of 2 units, not 1. So you're doubling the length, but not necessarily the capacity. But it does increase it massively, which is good for us. You've also got things like, I think this is the one that we use. Oh no, maybe not. I thought this was the one that we used over in Bar City, but it's not. So yeah, it is just capacity that we're trying to improve. So that's 99. That's 1960. They're from Blackpool. So that's possible. 122 instead of 110. We're currently using the Jubilees. So it might just be a case of I need to download some more tram sets. And that could give us the solution. I mean, the Tatras could work, but I mean, that is literally double. But I don't know how long the units are. That's almost double. We could just go Metrolink. We'll see. But yeah, if anyone has any suggestions for tram vehicles to double the capacity, or at least, 1.5 the capacity, so we can carry more passengers in one go, that would be very, very useful. I'm all ears. So yeah, that's it. That's the episode. Between episodes, I'm going to go add some more bus lines. I'm going to fix the timings here as well, like I said. I'm also going to not just add bus lines to St. George here, but I'm going to look at all the other stations around, because I don't think you need to see me do it multiple times once you've seen me do it once. One other thing I might do is build a couple more bus depots. So Barnwell here is basically reached capacity. We can't fit any more in. So I'm tempted to make Barnwell GSE's depot and relocate the GSG ones out somewhere else. But that's easier said than done. To be honest, demolishing most of the area over here could be a good way of doing that. But we'll see. Or we just split it and half go here and half go over here, and then that gives us a bit more flexibility with different vehicle types. But then all the buses are running mostly full at the moment, so it's not a simple case of just making it, you know, single deck, double deck, depending on passenger usage. The peaks and troughs script is good, but I feel like it still gives me way too many. Like, to have 110,000 passengers waiting and to have 72,000 of them all wanting to go through St George Viaduct, it does help me with where new bus lines need to go, I suppose, but it's still a bit of a pain. Yeah, Wenfingfield as well, so that's on the coach, so they're going to come down to Guard Lake and then hop on a coach to head out west. Oh well. Right, like I said, that is the end of the episode. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. If buses are your thing, then be sure to hit the like button. And also, if you're enjoying the series so far, be sure to hit the like button. Trains will return in the not too distant future. One thing I'm tempted to do, now I've got the basic foundations as to how to set up timetables. Master Trams is quite busy at the moment with life getting in the way. He is still working on the high speed for me. And then I think the Trans Rapid comes after that. But I might have a crack at doing some train stuff myself. So I might look at a line that is relatively simple to do, he says. I want to try and choose one that's relatively isolated from the rest of the network. So one idea that I did have as a test bed, because I've used it as a test bed before. In fact, I think it was one of the first lines we built on the network, is to actually use the North Valleys line here between Honingville and Sunnington, and maybe try and get trains running on there. One of the reasons I want to do that is because the latest version of BR Trains has some very, very cool units that I want to try out. I would also like to do the West Winds, because that was the first line that we populated with trains on this network way back when. And one of the reasons I wanted to do the West Winds is because there's now push-pull stock, actual push-pull stock. I don't know if I caused this to be a thing, but it was a request that I made several years ago now. 4.5 years ago, I think it was, so not several. That has now been fulfilled. So that's awesome. Kudos to the BR Trains team for getting that done. But I wanted to do it for the Crompton diesel locomotive. That one hasn't yet been done. But some of the other ones that have been done include, I think it's the Class 86 and 87 that used to operate on the West Coast main line. And that's really freaking cool. So I would like to get those running. But I'm not going to do the West Winds line because I think Master Trams is claiming that one, as I said earlier. So I'm going to look at other... Just getting rid of some of these signals as well that we don't need anymore. I'm going to look at other... routes on the network and see if there are any that kind of are isolated enough that I can use them as test beds. I really want to do the HLR actually, so that could be a candidate as well, because I think that one could work quite well, to be honest. That one could work quite well if I can get the timetabling right, because it's not just as easy as, you know, set it up and away you go. What am I talking about? That's a good question. I don't know. I think I'm wrapping up the episode. That was what I was doing, wasn't it? Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And, of course, if you're enjoying the series, drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes. And if you've got any suggestions for the buses as well, or how to fix the bus problem, timetabling, all that good stuff. If anyone's watching, because Kale, that's who I was going to talk about. Kale was the one who found out about the conditional order thing. And he's also been... recommending some ways of doing timetabling and stuff. So if anyone has any ideas for timetabling, how to raise capacity, all that good stuff, or just ideas for how to run buses, let me know down below. It's always appreciated. Otherwise, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you for your continued support. It's very much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm off to manage the buses. So until next time, I will see you soon.